Should be live soon.
Cool.
Looks like we are live. Say if we're live, say something in the live stream to make sure everything's okay. Can you guys hear me well? And mic check on Cullen as well.
Can you guys hear me well? Hopefully.
How's it going, Ziggy? Stop the drum rolling.
Stop the drum rolling. No. Where's this drum rolling coming from?
I think he was just talking about it. No, it says 5x5. We're good. Do you have access to the chat, Cullen? You might have to pull up.
I believe so. I believe so. Actually, I know there's a private chat thing here.
Well, there's that.
There should be something on the right-hand side. It says messages from audience will display here, but I have not.
Oh, it won't be on Restream. It'll be on the actual YouTube page.
Cool. Let me go ahead and pull that up here real quick then.
Give us just a second, guys. How's everybody's weekend? How was everybody's weekend so far? Hello. I actually cannot pronounce what your name is there. Is it Korean, or it looks possibly Korean? But hello to you. Did you find it, Cullen?
I sure did.
Okay, you're good.
Quick. Cool.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and start. So welcome to Orbital Velocity. It's a weekly live show we're doing where we talk about human spaceflight news from the week. There's quite a few things that happened this week. Not as much as the week before, but a few things this week in particular. My name's Derek, and this is actually can't. See if you can see. Oh, this way. This is my co-host Cullen.
There we go.
gotta do it right there.
Hi guys.
And Orbital Velocity, for those who are new, I see some people who I recognize, but for those that are new, Orbital Velocity is a channel that is dedicated to telling the story of human spaceflight, most in a new sense, sometimes in story senses, and especially as we're starting to move out, humanity's starting to move out beyond low Earth orbit with the Artemis program. With the Chinese space program is moving out, the Russian space program is working with things, just a lot of things. A lot of things are going on with commercial spaceflight. It's just an exciting time to be a human spaceflight fan, or a spaceflight fan in general, but we are focused on human spaceflight here. Let's see. So I make videos on various topics. There's also a website, orbital-velocity.com. You can see some things there as well. You can also follow me on Twitter at @TheSpaceWriter and also at Orbital Vel. They wouldn't let me make the whole. Actually, I think somebody else has Orbital Velocity is what where that came from. So Orbital and then Velocity, but you stop at VEL. And then Cullen, if you want to tell them your Twitter handle for those that might want to follow, we can put it in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. Yeah, for sure. We can definitely plug it in. So I write for Spaceflight Insider. Obviously, that's you can find us online at spaceflightinsider.com. I'm also at Cullen DeForge on Twitter. It's just my first name and my last name. You'll see me, Cullen DeForge, SFI, Spaceflight Insider. So that's how you can find me and get in touch with me.
Yeah. And while I'm not doing content for Orbital Velocity, I'm also writing and editing for Spaceflight Insider as well. Be sure to go ahead and give them a follow while you're at it as well. And check out Spaceflight's website. Shameless plug, Orbital Velocity, Spaceflight Insider. All good people all around.
We work hand in hand.
Yeah, we work very much hand in hand. Let's see here. So before beginning with the actual news show, I want to say go ahead and, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and give the video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And share the video if you have other friends that might be interested in this. I always hate to plug, hey, please like and share, but it really does help with the algorithm, and it helps with our growth. Also, if you enjoy what we're doing, if you've seen some of our other videos, go ahead and consider a super thanks or any sort of contribution via possibly even PayPal. We have a PayPal link. Any amount helps, and if you can't do it, no worries. Just like I said, liking and sharing and engaging is the most important part. And all of it helps, and everything will go into the content creation for Orbital Velocity to give you more and more content as time goes on. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. The big news of the week is, if many of you may or may not know, is the Artemis 1 launch date. It has been given a preliminary sort of working toward. It's not an official, NASA is targeting this date, but it is a preliminary date. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Cullen because I think he wanted to talk a lot about that. Correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We have a launch date, Derek. This is a long time coming. We've obviously seen some delays, some targets, some delays, but this is really kind of the first time we've really seen kind of. And again, we really do want to avoid that use of the hard launch date because, again, kind of like you said, this is not an agency commitment. Really, what they're doing is they are really kind of reserving the range for these first 3 days that we have for the Artemis 1 mission, the first mission in the Artemis program that's going to see SLS fly for the first time. Right now, the preliminary date is set for August 29th. I believe it is a morning launch. The window opens up at 8:33 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on the 29th, it's actually going to be a 2-hour window. So it's going to open up at 8:33 in the morning, and of course, it's going to close 2 hours later. And each day is actually important to note. Each day provides a different launch window time. So for the 29th, we will see a 2-hour. We also have another opportunity on September 2nd. That launch window opens at 12:48 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. In that scenario, it's also going to be a 2-hour window. But on the 5th, September 5th, which is the third launch date that NASA has provided, that is going to be a 1.5-hour window. I believe that opens up at 5:12 Eastern Daylight Time. That's going to be in the evening, 5:12 in the afternoon. This is a 42-day mission. So yeah, obviously different return dates depending on when we see it. But I don't know, Derek. I mean, how are you feeling about this launch date? Obviously, like we said, it's not an agency commitment. This is really something that they're working towards. Obviously, SLS is in the vehicle assembly building right now here in Florida. So obviously, crews are working towards this date. But I mean, they have the range reserved. So I mean, what do you think as far as confidence goes for this date?
It's hard, and I like SLS. I like Starship, Team Space here all around. But that being said, it's hard to. This is the closest we've ever been to launch, an actual launch date.
Yeah.
I still will not be surprised if there is still a slip. There's a lot that still needs to be done for closeouts inside the vehicle assembly building. Pretty much the date to watch, at least for the August 29th target launch, is did I say July 29th? August 29th. The date to watch for the August 29th launch is actually August 18th. If the SLS can be rolled out to the launch pad by about August 18th, then there is a really good chance that NASA might make that date. And again, I would imagine for the other dates, just move forward. So what is it, 3 days to, or is it 3 or 4 days to, from there, from the 29th to the 2nd? So if they're going to make the 2nd, I would imagine 4 days after the 18th, the 22nd, for a rollout, if they're going to make that date. That being said, the big thing to worry about is that means they only have 3 attempts for this launch window. And if they don't make this launch window, they have to wait for the September 19th to October 4th launch window. And if they actually roll out, that means they'll have armed the the flight termination system. And that has a time limit. It expires, and I don't know if they can get extensions for the expiration of it. I'm not 100% sure how all that works. It's kind of weird. It's very limited. It's surprisingly limited. It's like 10 days or something like that. Like once they are out on the pad, they pretty much have only a certain amount of attempts that they can do before they have to pretty much roll it back to the vehicle assembly building and then essentially reset everything from the flight termination standpoint. It's kind of weird. If somebody knows any better details about why that is the way it is, feel free to say it in the chat, unless you know, Cullen.
No, I don't. And I mean, because that is definitely it's something that cannot be performed at the launch pad, obviously. So really, no matter what, in my mind, that's going to be kind of the biggest thing that would drive a delay to these dates. Should the SLS rocket roll out to the pad at this time, I think that's going to really be kind of the watch item because that is such a simple thing that can cause, like you said, up to a 10-day delay, and that's just the flight termination system itself. That doesn't necessarily include rolling the vehicle to and from the vehicle assembly building as well. So there's a lot to consider here.
And if that's all they have to change in the vehicle assembly building and just resettle that, how quickly can they roll back from the Launch Complex 39B at Kennedy Space Center in Florida, from the 4.5 miles from there to the VAB, which is about 12 hours? How long do they have to be in the VAB to do all that reset? Because then you got to think about panels that have to be moved back, which is probably a day or two right there. I mean, unless I'm overestimating how long that takes. If it's a lot quicker, sure, hopefully it does. And then you have to think about rolling back. So I would imagine at minimum that's 3 days there and back, but in reality it's probably a week.
Well, and not to mention the range too.
And then there's the range availability.
That's another. And another consideration is the range.
And so they have the range reserved, as you mentioned, for those 3 days. If they don't make that, then they'll have to switch over to the September 19th, beginning of that window. Now, what I don't know is how that's going to conflict with another story we're going to talk about later, which is the Crew 5 mission, which is scheduled for launch on the 29th. It'll probably play nice, but you just never know. That's just one more variable that NASA is going to have to take into account, because Crew 5 will probably have priority over Artemis 1. So,
I would think so. That is a little more mission critical, given that this is an actual crew launch to the International Space Station. And then we have turnover to consider as well.
Yep, exactly. And then my question I would have, and I don't know the answer to this, is if they do try to go for these 3 launch dates, and for some reason they get to, what is the last day? The 5th, and they scrub out on the 5th. Let's say they even fueled it on the 5th. I'm trying to figure out worst case scenarios here. They fueled on the 5th and they have to scrub at T minus whatever. Then they'll have to safe the vehicle. I think they have to make sure everything's safe as far as propellant's completely offloaded, which is probably another day if I had to guess. Hope I'm not just completely talking out of my rear there. So
I don't think so. No, I think it's at least an overnight process.
Exactly. Then you have to talk about moving the crawler back up the ramp and setting all that up, which is probably another day or so, and then rolling it to the VAB and back. Would that whole process of rolling there and back, would that start eating into the September 19th window? So I think there's a lot of variables that NASA is going to have to take account for, and which is why I say don't hold your breath for these 3 days. It's exciting.
Right.
It's the closest we've got. Credentials have gone out for various organizations. NASA is at least starting, from a public relations standpoint, is starting to target this date. But do not be surprised if it shifts to September 19th. So that's pretty much what I was going to say. But that being said, if it does go on those 3 days, it's going to be a long-form, is it long-form mission? Just a long mission. The way the orbits work, I wish I had a graphic for this, unless you want to talk about the mission trajectory.
I was actually trying to pull up a graphic to see if we can get something to show, but I actually don't.
I can send a quick graphic if you'd like. Just or I can pull the graphic up and you can just look. Just give me a second here. Artemis 1 trajectory. This is live editing here. Live finding things. How fast can we do it? There we go. That looks like a good one. There's a video too, but I think this one in particular will be nice. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off that so nobody sees that. Where are we at? Bear with me. Okay, I'm gonna show my desktop, hopefully. Edge tab window. I'm gonna go for that window, I think. Share. Okay.
I think NASA has one. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
So if you want to go ahead and describe the trajectory here, unless you want me to.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I'll definitely. I can take a crack at it. Really kind of what you're seeing is really almost akin to the era of Apollo. I believe this is a 42-day mission in total.
I want to confirm this is an uncrewed mission in case anybody does not know. No people aboard. This is an uncrewed test flight.
Yeah, there's going to be a multitude of various test plates and other I don't want to use the word boilerplate because
it's very much not a boilerplate.
That's not what's going up at all. It's very much a working spacecraft for the Orion spacecraft is what we're talking about. It's very much a working spacecraft that's going to be filled with a bunch of different, again, like I said, kind of test articles. Also some different science to be done on board.
There's some
they're actually taking up some CubeSats.
Anthropomorphic. Let's see if I get this right. Anthropomorphic test dummies or devices.
You got it.
Not dummies, devices. Anthropomorphic test devices or something like that. One of them is named. One of them is named Munikin Campos, which is after, I believe is it, okay, correct me if I'm, it's an Apollo 13 reference for, I think it was the guy who helped with the CO2 scrubbers, if I recall correctly. I might be wrong on that.
Correct.
So that mannequin is named after that, and I think there's a couple other mannequins in there. There's also an experiment aboard called oh gosh, oh no, I don't remember what it was called. It's an experiment about it's a voice experiment that they're doing. They have an Alexa device that's actually going to be going up inside the capsule, and mission control will be able to use audio to actually communicate. Ideally, for an astronaut. For missions with astronauts, the astronauts themselves will actually communicate with the Alexa device. But for now, they have a microphone situated close to the Alexa device where mission control can actually, talk to Alexa and say, Alexa, what's the external temperature on the spacecraft? Or, hey, Alexa, can you turn the internal temperature? Or various small tasks like that. And they're going to kind of test out voice control for the Artemis missions. But in particular, they're testing it out without the use of the whole Amazon or Google, if it were a Google device, database to back it up, since there's no internet out there. So those are the two big things inside the capsule. And of course, you mentioned there's several CubeSats that are going to be on the upper stage that'll be deployed after the Orion spacecraft separates. As you can see here, after the lunar insertion burn, the Orion capsule will separate and the CubeSats will be deployed. If you can see what I'm on my mouse here, and then it's going to take several days to get out to a what's called an outbound powered flyby, which basically it's going to fly close to the moon like a slingshot almost, and actually perform a burn with the Orion's main engine, which interestingly happens to be, I don't know if it's an exact one, correct me, that engine on the main engine on Orion, is that not a space shuttle orbital maneuvering system pod?
Yeah,
That's what I thought. Obviously modified, but I think it's one of the ones that actually flew on the space shuttle. Thanks, Siggy. It is. And so that powered flyby will set them up to go into what's called a distant retrograde orbit around the moon. They actually have to get into that orbit, though. That's what's called the retrograde orbit insertion burn. So there'll be two burns on the outbound, and that orbit, I think, is about 6 days, or how long is that orbit?
I was going to say 7 days. I thought it was a 7-day, but I could be completely wrong.
I'm trying to remember. Either way, for the short, so we're getting into missions here. So the spacecraft can either orbit around the moon on this distant retrograde orbit a half a time, and then perform essentially the opposite burns, the exit burn, and then the inbound powered flyby around the moon before it goes back to the Earth. Or it can go all the way around a whole another orbit. So basically, instead of a half a time, it'd be going around the moon 1.5 times.
And that's where you see Steve there. That's what Derek is mentioning, I believe.
What's that?
I'm sorry, I was just in relation to the map that you have thrown up.
Yes, you're talking about C. Yes, exactly. Yes, and so that's what we're talking about when we say the long duration mission. So these 3 dates that they're targeting in late August, early September will be for the long duration mission, and so because of that, you'll have dates for Splashdown in the early October timeframe, and I can get those in a second. Unless you want me to keep this graphic up, I'm going to take the graphic down.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, you can take it down. I think one of the things to mention too is this trajectory requires a lot of delta V, which is really kind of crucial. That SLS is the one that is obviously taking Orion. There's simply a reason why they are building this mega moon rocket. There's for the amount of weight that's carried on the Orion spacecraft, this really is the only rocket that's going to be capable of performing this type of mission. So again, we are Team Space, and we really are looking forward to SLS launching. There's a lot of contributions here, as you said. Old shuttle hardware, the ICPS, the Interim Cryogenic Propulsion Stage, that's obviously built by United Launch Alliance. So it's going to be really exciting. Like you said, it's nothing set in stone right now, but we do have a target, albeit probably a moving target. But it's coming up.
Now,
so
if you want to know those splashdown dates, I think I have them here written down somewhere real quick. If it launches on the 29th, it'll splash down in the Pacific Ocean on October 10th. If it launches on the 2nd, it will splash down on October 11th. And if it launches on the 5th of September, it will splash down on October 17th. So basically anywhere between a 39 and 42 day mission. So,
yeah, like you said, the long duration mission, it's going to be cool to see, and it's going to be fun to track its progress, like you said, because there is so much onboard experimentation with the Orion capsule. I think that's another part of kind of NASA's goal with this mission. Obviously, it's definitely a major test bed, but it's also just kind of getting the public involved. You know, like you said, kind of doing the voice command stuff. I think really is, you know, there's a lot of folks that have these devices in their own home, so I think it's, you know, really kind of their way of saying, hey, you know, you have this in your own home. We have it in our Orion spacecraft. We're communicating to the spacecraft that's on the moon, kind of the same way you communicate with your household objects. It's pretty cool.
And Ziggy pointed out here, and he is correct, I believe there are 13 CubeSats in a ring. The ring, I believe, is above the ICPS, but below the Orion spacecraft. It's on the
the
Orion spacecraft adapter, I think is what it's actually on. Is that what it is?
Yep.
Yep.
That's it.
There's a whole diagram of SLS out there. I don't have it with me. There was a lot of pieces. I think I did a video on it too. You can find it in the Orbital Velocity video catalog. So, is there anything else in particular about this exciting date that we want to talk about?
You know, I again, just kind of going back, this is really the first time, the closest that we've gotten to something like this. Obviously, at the beginning of the summer, when we first saw SLS roll out to the pad, you know, we were really kind of getting excited about that early summer date, but they never really had anything set in stone. There's a lot of speculation that, hey, maybe this could possibly happen at the very first part of the summer in June. Obviously, with the wet dress rehearsals having been conducted and really finding things that are really part of the testing. That's exactly why they test, is to find the things that have delayed launch up until this point. But really, kind of like you said, if they can meet these rollout dates, this really might be something that might actually be in the realm of possibility. Obviously, there's also weather to consider here in Florida. That's kind of right at the tail end of hurricane season as well.
That's
so that's definitely something to consider. But really, it is exciting to know that the next time that the SLS rocket rolls out to Pad 39B, it's going to be for launch. And I think it's really cool to see this finally in motion.
And I know some people have seen this and some people haven't. I figured if we're done with or moving on to the next topic, I figure a good end of topic video might be, and I'm kind of very happy about it. So that's part of the reason. Oops, stop. There we go. Stop it. There we go. I'm very happy about this video that I made with NASA B-roll. But again, I put it together with, you know, my own royalty music that I use, and so on and so forth. And so I'm going to just pull that up, and you guys can enjoy, for the time being, the a kind of a hype video / animation of SLS. I think I can
check it out.
Yeah. I'm just going to be quiet here once I get it all working someday. Can I do it this way? Better this way? Probably better this way. This actually might have the comments go above our faces, but it'll be fine. So I'm going to hit play. Enjoy. If it's too loud, let me know. guess on that note, let's get hyped.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, welcome back. So, okay, so moving on to the next topic. That was SLS. And if this wasn't exciting enough, we have more human spaceflight news, this time with actual, well, to be fair, the launch was still uncrewed, but it involves it involves the launch of a new module for the Chinese space station called Wentian. I think I pronounced that right, Wentian.
Did better than I did. So that's for sure.
Yes, it's some Chinese words, at least visually for me. If I'm not careful, I can easily pronounce them wrong. It's like the
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, Shenzhou. I used to call it Shenzhou, but it's Shenzhou. And
Shenzhou, yeah.
And if somebody in the chat, if I'm completely still off base, just let me
know. Sorry if we're totally mispronouncing that.
And of course the cargo spacecraft is Tianzhou. Yes, I think that's correct. And then the core module for the Chinese space station is Tianhe. And Tianhe, I think.
Tian. Okay.
And then of course you got Wentian and then Mentian, or Mengtian, because I think there's a G in there as well for the second module they're going to launch later this year. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the China just this morning, Eastern time at least, it was this afternoon. I guess it would have been yesterday afternoon. Beijing time. Basically, it launched at 20. Let me get my actual times here to make sure I don't steer you all wrong. The launch time was 6:22 UTC, or 2:22 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or I have an edit wrong here, or 2:22 p.m. Beijing time on July 24th, 2022. So it was the module, which is a science module, launched from the Wenchang spacecraft launch site in South China. It launched atop a Long March 5B rocket, which is, I believe, the largest rocket in the Chinese rocket fleet right now.
It sure is.
It's a big one, and this module, I believe, is the largest module. Definitely is the largest module that China has ever launched for a space station, and I believe volume-wise, it is the second largest volume module. Somebody's going to have to fact-check me on that one. Somewhere I read it was the second largest interior volume.
I believe so, actually.
And I imagine...
51,000 pounds, or 51,000 pounds.
Well, I was referring to habitable volume, habitable interior volume.
Oh, sure.
That it might be the third. Either way, I don't know if that stat was counting Skylab, which is a behemoth.
It's big.
And of course, the largest single module on the International Space Station is the Chinese Kibo, the main Kibo module. But I don't know how big it is related to that. Either way, the module itself is about 4.2 meters wide. I'll show you a picture here in a second. It's about 4.2 meters wide and about 17.9 meters long overall. And it's about 22 metric tons. And it's basically, it launched this morning, and it just recently, a few hours ago, docked with the core module of the Chinese space station. And there are 3 Chinese astronauts aboard currently. They launched actually aboard Shenzhou 14 back on June 5th, I believe. And the Chinese taikonauts are, and I'm probably going to pronounce these wrong, so I apologize in advance, but we got Chen Dong, Lu Yang, and Kai, and Xuzhe. So is it, oh goodness. I do not actually know how to pronounce the other guy's name. So
I'm even looking at the pronunciation, and I'm I'm not going to try.
Yeah, I know the Z's are different as well.
Yeah.
If somebody is good with Mandarin, if you could phonetically type it out in the chat, that would be.
Let us know. Yeah,
helpful.
Absolutely. Let us know.
I hate mispronouncing things because I know I like to respect people and pronounce things properly.
Absolutely.
So that being said, the module is the second of 3 modules for the construction of the Chinese space station. I'm going to quickly find some graphics here, and I'm going to turn that off.
Yeah, it's a big deal, Derek. Obviously, this is going to really provide a not unlike the International Space Station for the United States and Russia and other cooperating countries, but this is going to be really, it's going to provide a pressurized environment to do science aboard station, which is it's really cool. It almost kind of resembles Mir.
Very much
with,
so, yeah.
with the arm that it has, the Mir space station back in the day.
So here's the module that the graphic that I created about a year ago. So it's some minor differences, but for the most part, that's what it looks like. So you can see the width, like that. The width was obviously 4.2 meters. The length is about 17.9 meters. The main module here is going to house, I think it's 8 science racks and spots for 3 additional crew members. Now that doesn't mean that the Chinese space station regularly has 3 people aboard. When they do direct crew handovers, much like the International Space Station does direct crew handovers, for a brief period of time, whether it's a week or 2, however long they want the handover to be, there will be 6 people aboard. So that there will be 3 additional crew ports, 3 cabins, I guess, crew cabins for them, so they don't have to just kind of strap themselves to the walls. So they feel a little bit more at home, especially while they're getting situated for the long haul for their 6-month mission. So the science there, I think, is primarily going to be life science. It's also got.
It is, yeah.
Ziggy, you said they look spectre-y. I actually see what you're saying there. The Spectre module on the Mir space station.
Yeah.
So here you got the main module, and then here you've got places for external experiments. What you can't see in here is also a pressurized environment underneath. It's a cylinder. It has a second airlock for Chinese astronauts to go through. I'm not sure how often they'll use that airlock versus the primary airlock on the core module. That being said, for safety reasons, they probably use this new one more often than they would use the one in the core module. That way, there's the people that aren't on the person that's not on the spacewalk will still have access to get into the Shenzhou spacecraft should there be an emergency. Otherwise, they'd have to stay in the Shenzhou spacecraft while the spacewalk is ongoing. That's neither here nor there. So it also has another robotic arm, a 5-meter robotic arm. You can't see it in this diagram. And it's got a giant, massive, I think it's 55 meters from end to end, solar panels that unfurl and to give it power. See if I can actually go to the next thing. Oh, good, I can. So this is the whole thing when it's done. So you can see here at the bottom, you've got the Wentian module, the core module here in the center. Wentian actually docked to the front of the space station, and I'll show you exactly how that works in just a second. And it actually used an indexing arm to move it from, it's going to be using an indexing arm in the coming weeks to move it from the forward port here to its final location here. And then in October, the Mengtian module will launch and essentially do the same thing, dock at the forward and use an indexing arm to move it around. So, let's see if I can find.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. I also heard that they've also kind of installed, obviously not to the same extent, but something kind of like a cupola on board.
I don't think there's a cupola on board that I'm aware of. If somebody knows otherwise, please let me know.
Let us know.
Really cool.
I remember seeing some flash today that said something along. Obviously, it's not near the grandeur that's seen on station, but
yeah,
please let us know.
No, it does have windows, obviously. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah, here is a nice video showing it under construction. Okay, again, I'm not messing with anything here. Okay, hopefully you guys can still see me. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. I don't know if I'm going to keep the audio on.
问天实验舱可支持开战。
No reason to keep the audio on. So here is the module when it is being processed. So you can see how big it is compared to people. There's the indexing arm right there. They're testing it out. And then there's, I guess they're getting ready to put it in for vacuum testing. And then here's some animated versions of it. They pull out some statistics. You can see, again, I can't read that, but you can see some of the numbers there that make sense. So they're talking about the solar panels here, 6.5. I imagine it's 6.5. I'm not actually sure what that is versus 23. Not 100% sure what that is.
Good question.
Yeah. 55 is probably the wingspan for the whole thing.
Yeah, 55 meters.
Yeah. somewhere on there you saw how much it was supposed to give power wise. I think they talk 7.3 kilowatt hours of power, so it's a decent amount. And so let's see if they actually show some more here, because I thought somewhere in here they showed how it docks and how it maneuvers itself, because a lot of this stuff is just more stats we just talked about. There's the airlock module going on the top, and then of course there's some more stuff in the top for for the airlock as well as for navigation and control. So here's a little interior animation, and moving on to showing the racks. There it is compared to the full space station. Thought somewhere it showed how it would get in here. I steered you guys wrong. Well, there's the robotic arm. So somewhere I thought it showed the orientation. My apologies. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Well, in the meantime, I'll show you another video. I didn't actually show you the launch. So here's the launch.
Cooling down. So this is the final countdown.
Turn the volume down a little bit.
3, 2, 1.
Had the delayed
So
ignition.
there's a time difference between ignition and ignition itself.
Julius Caesar, thanks on the Artemis video. Appreciate it.
Almost looks like a tape launch. No more trees.
Trench cam, yep.
So people on the beach can see it.
Yeah, that's very visible from 8 kilometers away.
And I think if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but normally you don't hear call-outs, kind of what we're used to here in the States.
Oh yeah, you don't.
As far
Yeah.
as different stage points, but I believe in this coming up in probably about 30 seconds, they did have a call-out for max Q or maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle is experiencing.
Yeah, it's definitely
Into it before.
the rocket.
This is the view
A little
from the
different than I'm
camera
used to
that's,
from some of the other
overhead.
vehicles. The four strap-on boosters, I think it's all hydrogen and oxygen. I could be wrong. It might be a
So
mix.
this is the camera that is
The
facing
core stage, I
down.
believe, is hydrogen and oxygen. I'm going to go ahead and mute this.
From there.
So it's just them talking. The core stage actually makes it all the way. Look at that. There's the contrail.
Yeah, that's cool.
The cone. The core stage makes it all the way to orbit, which has its own problems because it doesn't have a way to deorbit itself. So it's kind of there. It's 20-ton empty.
Right.
That core stage is, I think, 20 tons empty, and so it's just kind of floating there waiting to fall back down. So
It's a projectile,
Yeah, it's a
and it
projectile.
does not have a controlled entry, kind of like you said. So it's kind of up in the air, for lack of a better term, as far as where it's going to land. I don't know if that's something that they're actively working on or not.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to get too political into that, but I think
No, of course not.
Honestly,
of course. All right.
I honestly think it's not a problem for them. In their mind, it's not a problem. In their mind, the United States.
It may not
and
be,
Russia
yeah, and
used to do all
it
that.
may not be.
Although I don't think we ever had one this large, this uncontrolled. Though, that being said,
Yeah.
after the boosters drop off, then the core stage continues all the way. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward it here, and then you'll see the payload fairing. I missed that. There it is in the payload fairing. See if I got that timed up right. 3, 2, 1. Hey, timed right.
Nice timing.
Yeah. Okay. And so there it is there. I'm going to go forward again to about 8.5 minutes after launch. And then come on. There it goes. Separated. The rocket, moves itself out of the way of collision avoidance, and there it goes on its way. So, I believe somewhere, there it is there. Somewhere I also have, I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Anything you want to add to about the Long March 5B?
No, I think it is really cool watching that core stage carry as long as it does. It's save for save obviously for the kind of the uncertainty of the core stage. It's a really cool rocket. It is really cool seeing this capability. Space is kind of that great unifier, so it is cool to see capability worldwide.
Yeah, and then here's I'll turn that on, a video from the Chinese state media about the actual dock. Here you see some more animations there. You can see it docks on the front. And then think that's the dock there. So I'm going to pause it here. Now that it's docked, I think what's going to happen next is they're going to actually have initial inspections inside. The taikonauts are going to go inside, do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the timeline is because China keeps a lot of things hush hush. We're lucky to get what we
Yeah.
get. I think because the human spaceflight program over there is very much soft power for them. It's
Sure.
it's just a display of power and everything like that. They want that to be out there as
Yeah.
much as possible. That being
100%.
said, I mean it's propaganda, but it is what it is. But it's still amazing that we have more people doing this. But yes, and I know Julius Caesar said it's very saddened to see so much interest in China considering what they represent. I totally understand, but it is still human spaceflight. It is still people working to go out and how would you put it? Basically, do research in low Earth orbit. I think the more people that are doing it, the better. That being said, it would be better if they had a better record. So I totally get it. So from here, I don't know if they're going to show it or not. I'm going to go fast forward. Yeah, they don't. Somewhere there was a really cool, mute that here. When Tang docking. I just wish I knew where it was. Sorry for this. Apparently I'm unprepared. I know I saw it somewhere.
I thought you had posted it somewhere, but maybe I'm crazy. But I thought I had seen it from you. The different, the ballet, as it were. Of,
it was like a ballet.
The
Let me go to Facebook here real quick and see if I can find it. It was probably actually on my Facebook page. Let me grab it real quick. See if that's it. That might be the same thing I just posted. No. Or is it? Yeah. Either way. Go. I'll just, you know what? I'll just pull up. I'll pull up one of my videos. And, because I have done one on that. Actually, I may have a video pulled up here. I'm going to mute it because I can just talk over it. So, going on to this, here's my... I get better every time I do a video. This video was over a year ago, and I have done so much better since then. So I did some graphics here talking about the, I forgot to mention, WENTAN stands for Quest for the Heavens.
Quest for the Heavens.
Yeah, and so you can see a person for scale there. And mass, some of my numbers were off here. There we go. So it docks, and then it's got the indexing arm, and then it'll move it over to this side, and then dock it. And then when the other one launches, it'll be a similar shape and size. It will dock just like that, move itself, and then dock it. So that'll be in around October. Let's get that face off here. So that'll be around October, assuming the schedule stays as it is now. And then with a few more, about a month or two of more outfitting, then the Shenzhou 15 crew, which has not been announced yet, will actually launch to the Chinese space station in December and do a direct handover with the Shenzhou 14 crew. And that will mark the first direct handover for a Chinese crew. There will be 6 Chinese taikonauts in space, a record. And it will mark the beginning, well, that means June 5th of 2022 will be the beginning of their permanent presence in low Earth orbit. So they'll start to rack up their own records, just like we've racked up records for the International Space Station. We've had at least one American and one Russian aboard the International Space Station since November 2nd of 2000. Although they did launch on Halloween, but they didn't dock for 2 days later. So, so that's about all I have to say about WENTAN. Anybody have any questions about that? Oh, Ziggy, you said Carolocks for the boosters and Hydrolocks for the core states. That's what I thought. So the side boosters are liquid kerosene and liquid oxygen. Liquid kerosene, of course it's liquid. And the core stage is hydrogen and oxygen. So that makes sense. Okay. Okay, so that's that. Anything else you want to add about this?
No, I think just to kind of build off your point, it's the reason why we are talking about it is because it is human presence in space. Like Derek said at the very beginning, we are Team Space, so it is very interesting to see continuous human presence in orbit. We expect years to follow. Other countries will probably do the same. This is really kind of the direction that we are heading in. So it's just interesting to see more human presence on orbit.
Yep. And before I forget, on our last topic about Artemis 1, I forgot to mention, for those that are interested, I'll put it in the link, assuming the link, it'll let me put the link in there. NASA is looking for 100 social media content creators. If you guys are all interested, you can put in your social media and throw in your hat, and possibly be selected by NASA to go down there to get an up close look at the Artemis 1 mission. I think it's a 3-day event. You'll get a bunch of the first 2 days, you'll get a bunch of first of all, you get to meet a lot of like-minded people, and one of those days you'll get to go experience a bunch of people that are actually working on the rocket, and you'll get pretty close to the rocket itself. I guarantee you, you'll be taken on a tour inside the pad perimeter, take your photos there, and then of course you'll get to see the launch probably at about, 4 miles away from there. So I'm going to send the link here if you feel free to sign up for that. They're only selecting 100 people, and it's not random, so think of it like a job application, if you will. You'll see all the instructions in there. But I've done NASA socials before, and they are very much worth it. And if you get into it, it's an experience you will never forget. So that being said, on to you, Cullen, on the next topic. So we've covered Artemis 1, we've covered Win-10, and now moving on back to the.
So now we're going to
go back to the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna kind of talk the next player that we're gonna see kind of in the early fall, as far as human launches from the Cape. Of course, we're talking about NASA and SpaceX's joint Crew 5. So we actually saw a slip recently this week. NASA originally wanted to launch Crew 5 in early September. However, this week we did see a swap to late September. I believe the date they're targeting now is a launch no earlier than September 29th. Of course, for this mission, they'll be carrying up four astronauts, or four crew members, to the International Space Station. That includes NASA astronauts Josh Casada, Nicole Mann, Japanese astronaut Koichi Wakata, and of course, for the first time in the commercial crew program, Russian cosmonaut Anna Katina. So this is definitely going to be a launch to watch. The reasons for the delay, there's a couple reasons actually, and again, kind of getting into the contracts between NASA and Russia. I know they were previously aiming, like I said, in early September, but now rather than Crew 4 replacing the Crew 5 replacing the Crew 4 astronauts before the next Soyuz launch, it'll actually be the opposite way. If I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the Soyuz crew will actually turn over first.
Yes, I believe.
Again, correct me if I'm wrong.
I'd have to check the schedule. I believe Soyuz is still launching on the 21st.
Oh gosh, yes, I think that sounds right.
Now there'll be sorry, I spaced out a little bit there. No pun intended. I do believe. I do believe. Did you mention there's going to be an American astronaut on that mission?
Yeah, there was. So obviously, yes. I'm sorry, on the Soyuz mission.
On the Soyuz mission, yes.
Did not mention that. No, I did not mention
that. It's a crew swap.
That'll be astronaut. Yeah, crew swap. So that'll be astronaut Frank Rubio will actually be on that flight.
I'm looking for astronaut photos for people here.
Oh, cool, nice. Guess I could have had that. But yeah, so anyway, there's a couple reasons for the delay. Kind of the highest profile delay that we're seeing. So this is kind of the first in a while for SpaceX and NASA. They will actually be flying on a brand new Falcon 9 rocket. This will be the first launch for this particular booster. I don't know the nomenclature for this booster, so if
is it 71?
Know it?
No, it can't be.
Is it 71?
No,
I don't think it's I don't think it's 71.
Yeah, that doesn't feel right.
If you know it in the chat, please let us know.
Sure,
but this will be the first flight for this particular booster. And one of the reasons for the delay, actually, as most of you know, SpaceX's headquarters out in California, in Hawthorne, California. They actually transport their brand new boosters via truck. It's via road. They transport their boosters out to McGregor, Texas, for testing. And what happened was, I believe it actually hit a bridge. It hit a bridge. So essentially what they're going to have to do is, I don't know if they're replacing entirely, but they're definitely doing work on that inner stage, that black part of the Falcon 9 that you see. I can't remember if they're replacing it or if they're just
I can
doing work.
read directly from the NASA press release on it if you'd like.
Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah, please, if you don't mind.
Let me find it real quick here to make sure. They kind of kept it hush hush. They buried the lead.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
There's something with the interstage here. Here we go. As teams progress through Dragon milestones, they are also preparing a first flight Falcon 9 booster for this mission. SpaceX is removing and replacing the rocket's interstage and some onboard instrumentation after the hardware was damaged during transport from SpaceX's production facility in Hawthorne, California, to the company's McGregor test facility in Texas for stage testing. SpaceX teams completed and NASA teams reviewed load, shock, and structural analysis coupled with detailed and X-ray inspections to verify the damage was isolated to the interstage and ensure the integrity of the rest of the booster. After all the replacement hardware is installed, the booster will undergo additional testing and be further assessed prior to acceptance and certification for flight. There you have it.
Yeah, and it's important to note it's not just SpaceX that is conducting these tests. It is also involved very much with NASA, so it has that oversight. SpaceX and NASA are both very confident in this booster. It's undergone a bunch of tests. It's going to go through another series of tests, of course, to make sure that it is indeed flight ready. But assuming all stays nominal, which I am fully confident that it will, we are currently targeting a September 29th launch date for Crew 5.
And Ziggy points out here, and makes a really good funny point. It wasn't just any bridge; it was a bridge outside of Van Horn, Texas, which famously is right where Blue Origin launches their New Shepard.
There you go. Yeah.
Tinfoil hat all you want. So I'm not suggesting that's what happened. I'm completely kidding. But
of course not. That's a great point, Ziggy. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, I still have not. You see, everything's happened so quickly in the last week. I don't think they have an official crew portrait for Crew 5 yet.
That wouldn't surprise me. And like you said, these things happen fast. I'd expect this to come out at least within the next couple of weeks or so. But I think now that they do have that kind of set in stone.
Ziggy says it's B1077.
Thank you so much, Ziggy. That's fantastic. So we were a little off, but yeah, B1077. That sounds right.
Is this the second new booster of the year?
Believe so. My goodness, I can't remember. The first one surprised me. I don't remember the launch campaign that it was for the first booster.
Maybe the first
it was recent. It was recent.
Oh, was it recent? Huh.
I think so.
Gotta go.
Yeah, if you know in the chat, please let us know. I don't remember what the first was for this year. I mean, what are we at? 30.
We're at 33 launches as of this morning.
33.
33 launches. Ooh. I'm excited for all these launches, but it's very tiring.
It's hard to keep up. Like I said before this, I purposely slept through this one this morning, which is very uncharacteristic for launches here at the Cape. But my goodness, it's hard to keep up sometimes. Again, it's exciting times. We're big time team space here, but it's just 33. It's just smashing.
Yeah, 33
record at this
and
point.
We're just over halfway through the year.
Yeah, so the cadence, there's cadence, and then there's SpaceX's launch cadence.
Yeah. Yep, it's exciting though. Can't really complain. I remember
it is exciting. Absolutely. No, there's no complaints here. I don't know, Derek, do you have anything else to add to this?
Not in particular. I was actually just hoping to find a crew photo that wasn't just,
cool.
something from like, I don't know, 5 years ago. I don't want to. I was hoping to get something relatively close with them all together. Maybe NASA commercial crew Twitter account.
They might have some. I don't recall seeing anything here recently, but
even if it is just the four of them in four different images.
Yeah,
that would be nice. But
again, this is a pretty big deal because we are going to be seeing for the first time a Russian cosmonaut flying aboard Crew Dragon.
Yep, and that's the first time a Russian cosmonaut will be on an American vehicle since definitely the space shuttle program, but I'm just trying to remember what space shuttle
Yeah,
mission it was.
which STS? You've got me.
It may have been early ISS program. It may not have even been in the
That
ISS
makes sense.
program.
I almost wanted to say, yeah. I'm not going to throw out my guess there
Yeah.
because it would be a lie. So.
Yep. It's exciting though. You know.
But all that to say, it's exciting. Yeah, it's very exciting. And again, you know, despite the tension and everything that's going on, obviously our hearts sincerely go out to everyone in Ukraine.
Absolutely.
It is exciting to see
Yeah.
cooperation.
Yeah.
Again,
it's good to see the
use
cooperation.
that word cooperation.
Yeah, but it is definitely tense.
Yeah.
Just a lot of sometimes cosmonauts can be, they have to do what they're told. Let's put it that way. I don't know what the cosmonauts' opinions are of the current situation, the war in Ukraine, but you do what you're told. Otherwise, A, you don't get to fly again, or B, something worse might happen when you return home. So
yeah, it's just it's a very different situation than
exactly.
You know, than
and of course they may actually believe in what they're doing because the propaganda machine over there is doing its thing. So
driving, yeah, absolutely.
So,
yeah.
But yes, it's glad that it is used as what can be done in terms of cooperation. It just it sucks that I feel like the United States and the West's hands are kind of tied right now when it comes to the ISS. We could easily, you know, condemn them, but then, you know, and they have in some way they've condemned some of the activities that are going on the space station, like the flag display they did a couple of weeks ago, which was unusual for a NASA administration to do that.
Yeah,
but they've just got to be very careful. I think the teams that are actually on the ground working, you know, in Moscow, Star City, on space station development, same thing in Houston, they're just working to keep those guys alive and working to do science. Anything else is just tacked on because of politics.
I agree, and I truly want to believe that the science comes first here, you know. And I do think, you know, to an extent, both sides really do understand that, you know,
they need each other.
Station cannot be run independently.
Now that may change in the next year or two. We don't know, but
sure.
I'm sure
as of right now, they need each other.
Yeah.
So
for better or for worse, we're stuck with the very odd bedfellows, if you will. So anyway, on that note, speaking of which, what is our next topic here? Well, we might as well move on to something similar and skip over another topic. Russia had a spacewalk over the week. It was on Thursday, and it actually was with one Russian cosmonaut and one European Space Agency astronaut.
European astronaut.
Yeah.
He's an astronaut.
Yeah, he's an astronaut. Samantha Cristoforetti was the second spacewalker, and it was Oleg Artemiev, I believe, for the main spacewalker. And their job was to go out and start. They left the. Actually, I have a video. It's an animation, and I don't think they did things quite in this order, so bear with me. So they left the Poisk airlock, and what their first task was to actually deploy several smaller microsatellites. I don't know if they're technically CubeSats or not, but microsatellites where you just had Samantha handing them off to Artemiev and just throwing them back out, just chucking them out, eating them off the side of the space station. So now they have to throw them. The
official term for this deployment is yeeting.
Yeeting, exactly. It reminds me of that one time they actually had spacesuit sat where they actually had an old Russian Orlan.
Yeah.
They literally just chucked what looked like a human being.
It's really unsettling to watch that video without context.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Obviously there was no person in that one, but yeah, they were. I think there were 10 CubeSats or microsats they were deploying for. I think it was a radio communication experiment. I'm not sure if it was in
radio technology. Low Earth orbit.
Yeah, but the primary task was for them to go down to the Nauka module and start the process of setting up. Let's see if I can go fast forward through here. Setting up more of the European robotic arm. And despite what the previous Russian director was saying, who is now canned, it sounds like cooperation with Europe on the space station, at least with the robotic arm, is ongoing as planned. So this robotic arm, I don't remember how big it is, but it is designed to actually, I'm just going to let this play here while I talk. It's designed to actually obviously move experiments around like the Canadian robotic arm does, but it's also designed to move two particular pieces off the RASFET module, which is a radiator and an experimenter lock, to move them to the Nauka module, and that'll happen later this year. But they've been spending a number of EVAs just outfitting the Nauka module and the European robotic arm. So this EVA, let's see what else we got here. Go ahead and talk over me if you want here. I'm looking up the
and so
stats.
the arm itself is actually about 37 feet, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it 37? Okay.
37 feet. It can lift about 17,000 pounds, to my understanding.
Okay.
And obviously, I believe it kind of has that inchworm.
Yeah, a little inchworm
mechanism is
a little
pretty
thing.
common.
So
yeah.
So those two were out on the spacewalk. It started at 5:55. Oh, they concluded at 5:55 p.m. Eastern time, after 7 hours and 5 minutes in space on the spacewalk. And I'm reading from the NASA thing here. Like I said, 10 nanosats satellites were deployed. I don't know if you were reading from the same thing or not, but they talked about how long the robotic arm was. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in particular that happened during the spacewalk. I think that was the bulk of it. It was the 6th spacewalk for Artemis, and the 1st for Cristoforetti, and it was the 6th overall spacewalk for the International Space Station in 2022, and the 251st spacewalk in support of International Space Station assembly and maintenance and upgrades since the very first spacewalk on the space station in 1998. So it's a lot of spacewalks. And there's
a lot of spacewalks.
There's a stat somewhere that talks about how many, days and hours that is. It's a lot. So there's been a lot of people.
It's mind-boggling.
It is mind-boggling. Yeah. I remember them talking about, in the lead up to the International Space Station program, this wall of EVA. I think if you look at all the EVAs before International Space Station, I think International Space Station has done at least twice as much as everything else before that.
Yeah, which makes sense. That really is kind of the, for lack of a better way of putting it, kind of the whole point of the station. Obviously, there's a lot of satellite service missions that we saw with shuttle, but it is pretty mind-boggling to think about.
I'm gonna go through here real quick. Here, I might talk about the Viper mission real quick because it is getting pretty late, and I want to wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm also getting tired. I was up really late this morning to watch the launch of the Win-10 module, and I was up early to watch the Starlink mission. So I am running on fumes. So quickly here, I will talk about one thing I wanted to add. It's another video I'd like to do at some point too, about the CLPS program, the Commercial Lunar Payload Services program. In that program, one of the later launches is actually called, someday I can find it, I know you're here, too many tabs, that's what it's called.
There you go.
I know I have it here.
You're talking about Viper, right?
Viper, yes, I'm talking about Viper.
Yeah. Yeah, so that it stands for Volatiles Investigating Polar Exploration Rover.
You have it down then, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And it is a rover that is planning on launching, well, it was originally planning on launching atop, with an astrobotic lander atop a SpaceX, I assume Falcon Heavy.
It's going to be a Falcon Heavy. Yep.
Was originally targeting late 2023, but for a number of obvious reasons, delays happen, space is hard, and this is a whole new program. They've delayed it. And this is probably one of the one of the bigger missions of NASA's Commercial Lunar Payload Services program. It's actually designed to go look for ice, specifically I think this one's supposed to dig down. Am I correct on that one? No, I'm thinking of something else.
I believe
it's a rover. Let's be fair, it's a rover.
It is a rover, yeah. I don't know if this one digs.
Yeah, I think there's another one that digs, drills. But either way, it's basically going to be looking for volatiles to find out how common water ice is at the South Pole. We think there's ice there. The orbital data says there's ice there, but how much is it really? How much? And that's really what a lot of these early CLIPS missions are going to be about, these early commercial robotic missions, to find out how much digging do we have to do to get to the water ice. Because unless we get very lucky for all mankind style and find a big water ice deposit in a permanently shadowed crater, we're going to have to dig. Dig and process, just like you do ore. But yeah, so that's what it's supposed to be doing. It is targeting now November of 2024, so late 2024, to land in the moon's south pole atop a astrobotic lander. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else related to that, but it's more of an update to that mission. Anything else?
Yeah, that's. I mean, really, that's the main reason for the delay actually is that astrobotic lander. Nothing's wrong with it per se. They just really wanted to do a little bit more testing. It's called the Griffin lander, so they did want to spend another year to just make sure it's up to snuff. Really, that's kind of the main reason for that delay. So
yeah. Okay, and then I will let you talk about the last topic of the day, which is more smoke and fire. NASA had an SRB test, and you might be asking, why are they doing SRB tests if we know we have SRBs working for Space Launch System already? And I'll let Cullen go over that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was the Flight Support Booster 2 test. Basically, what we're doing is we're making sure that SRBs are safe, and we want to keep up that the flight worthiness that's called in the industry of this legacy hardware. These boosters were designed at the old Morton Fiacol facility. Obviously, there was lots of name changes
Lots
there,
of name changes, yeah.
but
it's ultimately Northrop Grumman right now. So
ultimately Northrop Grumman, which of course changed here recently with the purchase of Orbital ATK. I say recently, that was like in 2018.
That was in the before times. So.
In the before times, yeah, exactly right. So basically, that's really what we're doing. It's kind of testing the quality and the overall changes that were made kind of to the booster to really certify it for use on the SLS rocket. So again, while these are legacy hardware, we do have these. We know they work. We want to make sure that they're still safe. We want to make sure that the modifications that they did do are still up to snuff.
In particular,
obviously,
I was going to say in particular,
go ahead.
They've changed the I think the power source for the thrust vector control, right?
Yep. They it's a new motor ignition system for thrust vector control, new TVC system. And really, while we're testing that TVC system, that new thrust vector control system, it's also going to be that type of TVC will be used on the Block 2 variant of SLS.
Yep. And it's going from hydraulic powered to battery powered, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Yep.
And so this is a video. Actually, this video in particular was put together by Sign News, which is a great channel. You should go subscribe to them. They actually put together a lot of these video highlights here with some of these NASA videos. But in particular, since NASA hasn't actually uploaded their video of the mission for some reason that I know of the test for some reason, I'll go ahead and show you the test on here. Oops, hold on. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah, gotta have the build up to the big boom.
3, 2, 1, fire.
And it just sits there on the ground and burning for 2 whole minutes.
And this is about what it does.
Yep.
I mean, obviously
Makes
you can
glass.
see the power it makes glass. That's a great way of putting it. It makes glass out there in the desert.
I know they've got a number of different test sites out there, but I've been to a similar one a couple of years ago when they were testing the Omega rocket, one of the SRBs for the
cool.
Omega, now canceled Omega rocket. So I got to go around and see
Rest
some of
in
these.
peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. Well, it did rest in pieces because that nozzle also exploded during that test. But I got to go around and see just how big and how much hardware they have in this and everything like that. It's pretty fantastic. And when you actually get to see these tests, and this is in Promontory, Utah, by the way, just north of Salt Lake City. And what's cool is you're only a mile away when you're watching these tests, so much closer than even a rocket launch. I mean, it technically is a rocket; it's just not launching. If it launches, it goes way wrong.
I was going to say, then your test has failed.
Yeah, and you might lose licenses. Massive problems. But anyway, after it tapers out, what's really cool is it's got a little bit of robotic arm right here that actually sticks in the funnel to actually safe the SRB and actually cool it off to make sure it doesn't completely burn itself to a crisp, so they can get all the data. You'll see here in a second. There it goes.
Pretty cool. And obviously, for those of you that are listening that don't know, solid rocket boosters, unlike liquid fueled rockets, they cannot be turned off. You cannot shut down these engines. So once you light, you are lit, and you are going somewhere. You just have to hope it's up, or in this case, stationary.
Yes, yes. Yeah, in this case, I think what Tim Dodd would say, to paraphrase Tim Dodd, pointy end sideways, flamey end
pointy end sideways, yeah.
And it's supposed to be that way. So anyway, there's that. I'm going to go ahead and take that off. I think that's the only content video-wise I had for that. Pretty standard. So, yes, the hydraulic reminds you, Ziggy, of the Delta III. How so? I'm trying to remember. You might have to remind me what in particular are the hydraulics for the Delta III. The Delta III is a weird rocket.
Weird rocket.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, well, we're working on that. Anything else we want to talk about? I think we covered all the major news of the week, unless somebody wants to tell us we're forgetting something.
Yeah, I think we've kind of mulled over it really all day. You know, and you know what's great? This is kind of considered almost a slow news week. With
this was a slow news week. Going.
This was a slow news week, which I mean, how lucky are we to be living in this time?
Although I do expect,
kind of said this last week.
I do expect next week to be slower, but things could always change.
Sure.
So
I was gonna say, man, that we thought the week before was gonna be slow, man, and then you know, Starship had to do its thing, and you know,
oh yeah,
you never really know. you never really know. You know, with as fast as things are changing. I don't know if I mentioned this, but on the Crew 5 will be flown by Crew Capsule Endurance. Crew Dragon Capsule Endurance will be making its second flight. Of course, its first flight was on Crew 3 back in 2021.
So I have a feeling that NASA is pretty much going to be cycling. Could always change, but I feel like NASA is going to be cycling between Endurance and Freedom. And then
there's also talks that they actually might be building another booster. I'm sorry, another capsule.
Really, they're doing another cargo.
Yeah. Yeah, so from what I've heard, again, I don't know how true this is. So if
rumor
anybody
mill,
knows
take it for
else,
a grain of salt.
Rumor mill, yeah, take what you want with a grain of salt here. But that given the updated cadence for the commercial crew program and NASA's really extension of SpaceX's contract, there is a rumor going around that there might be another capsule built. Again, this is just a rumor at this point. This is just speculation. SpaceX has not commented on this whatsoever, but it'll be interesting to see. But like you said, I do think that is definitely something you can expect, that back and forth between those capsules.
Yep. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Thanks in the chat room for being so lively, in particular Ziggy. Sorry, I couldn't catch up with everything you were saying there. We can talk more on Discord if you'd like. Anything else? I think it's getting pretty late. We've been on for about an hour 20. So
yeah, I think that's all I got today.
Yeah, I honestly
I
didn't think we'd make it to an hour today. So there we go.
So, here we are.
So I would basically like to say thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I know Cullen appreciates it. Expect the next week or two. I'm working on a video. I've mentioned it last week. It's just, you know, things take up time. I'm working on a video for the capstone mission, just kind of a recap of the capstone mission. I'm also, I think after that, I'm going to start working more on SLS related stuff, since that's coming just around the corner, it seems like. I may also, in the spirit of what you were talking about the Crew Dragon, I'm thinking about making a video talking about Crew Dragon, specifically the fleet. It'd be kind of an update of a video I did several years ago talking about Crew Dragon before it actually flew, but now that we have a whole fleet, it would be kind of nice, to say, just kind of like, back in the shuttle fleet, we had Discovery, Atlantis, Endeavor, Challenger, Columbia.
And they're reusable.
And they were reusable. And I would love to do a video similar to, just like that, talking about the fleet of dragons. And who knows, maybe by the time I get around it, we could also talk about the reusable fleet of Starliner, too many stars. Starliner as well. Although they're only expected to use 2. One of them has been named Calypso. The other one is still Spacecraft 3. Or is it Spacecraft 2? It's a number. So I may just hold off on putting Starliner in there. But I think a nice short little video talking about, hey, this is our American commercial spacecraft fleet. Kind of a nice little video to go along with maybe around the next time Crew Dragon flies. So those are a couple of videos I'm working on. Ziggy, how many Crew Dragons can you put in a dragon? Depends on the model size. So if you got a bunch of models, you could put a bunch of models inside a Crew Dragon. I don't know. Yeah, which I'm sure they've done that. I'm sure they've taken models of Crew Dragon and Crew Dragon. Maybe.
I hope so. I hope they've done that.
If they don't, then they should do that on the next one. That I want to see a Crew Dragon plushie as the next zero gravity indicator.
That would be fantastic.
That would be really cool.
I'm looking at you, Mattel. We're asking for plushies. We're asking for Crew Dragon plushies. So, which I don't know if you heard about the new deal, but
See, we said random questions with Zig. I'm talking about the mythical dragon. So how many Crew Dragons can you put in it?
The mythical dragons. Gotcha.
Depends on the size of the dragon. How big are mythical dragons? So.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Oh.
Good question.
We'll ponder that for the next week. I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks again for watching. So you can see. So you'll see some of the next videos coming out soon. Probably a lot more SLS content. Like I said, if you enjoyed this video, let us know. If you didn't like it, let us know. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, or dislike if you didn't like it. Dislikes are still engagement.
Yeah.
But if you do dislike, be sure you push it twice, because that's how it works with dislike. Never mind. Anyway, I'm being weird. So yeah, like I said, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. And if you wouldn't mind, if you're able to give a super thanks or a super chat or super anything, or join Patreon, feel free. Any amount helps, and we'll go, like I said, we'll go toward building more and more content, and just having a bigger and bigger community. So even if you don't do that, being here is the most important thing. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Cullen. I keep looking over here because you're on my other screen here. I just need to switch those screens. If I switch these screens here,
I keep looking in your direction too.
So if I switch the screens, now I look like
there we go.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that next time.
How are you doing, man?
Hey,
it's great to see you finally.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you for joining, and I appreciate you being a co-host. You actually, I think we do a good job of bouncing off of each other, other than me just stuttering every now and then. So,
or me just stuttering every now and then.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. That being said, next week we plan on going live same time, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, 12:30 in the morning UTC on. So well, I guess it would be Monday morning, 12:30. But next Sunday for people in the United States, next Sunday night, like I said, I'll have I'll put the schedule. Just like I did this time, I'll schedule the actual live stream, and then we'll plan on the same time and see what next week holds. So until next time, thanks again, and Ad Astra.